Hi, and welcome to Black on the Mat, the space where culture, community, and yoga intersect through our lived experiences. We're your host. I'm Danielle.
And I'm Saisha. Join us on this journey to bring representation and shed light on often overlooked stories on the yoga mat.
We're creating an accessible roadmap into yoga for Black people, building a community in this predominantly white space.
And letting folks already into yoga know that we're here.
Oh, should I be yogi-y?
You are yogi-y. You're in your yoga shirt, girl.
Well, I mean, sure. I have suspenders. It looks like I have suspenders on, so I just feel like
you look fabulous as usual. I don't know what the world you're talking about. I'm like loving the hair. Okay. I love the shirt. You are looking fabulous.
Listen, I thank Jesus for the hair. Jesus and genetics. It just worked out because I don't do anything. And if I had to, I would be looking like who did it and ran regularly. And
I hear you. I do something and I'm like, okay, it's like rolling the dice. What are we going to get today? Okay, twist it. Oh, this looks like one's going one way, one's going the other way. One twist again. I'm like, oh, it actually looks like you actually tried to do something today. I'm like, yes, come through.
Yes.
All right, so I want to know, what is your story? Like, how did you first stumble in on yoga?
So I started yoga because my best friend got into it. My best friend is also a certified teacher. She was doing her hours and I saw just a change in her. And I wanted to apply that to my students in the classroom more so even than like myself and my thought processes. I was just like, I think my students could use this.
Yeah.
And I found this yoga teaching program for classroom teachers to bring mindfulness practices into the classroom. And I was like, oh, wow, this is perfect. So I attended this program. And as I was doing this, obviously, so for those of you who don't know, when you do yoga teacher training, you have to do so many hours of practice before you can actually take the class. That's usually a part of the requirements, right? Like make sure you practice this many hours, 100 hours, 50 hours, whatever it is, right? So I was attending as many classes as I could, but I was not finding resources online. Because everything I was looking up, I saw zero representation of a body that worked like mine, looked like mine. And I saw it was mostly white people, mostly very trim, slim, slender, long white people that live somewhere where there's just pure white walls. And
just the white wall, girl.
I'm like, that's the only representation of yoga. Like that's the image just cemented in my mind, right? And because that was what was really presented in our Western media in that time. And there's nothing wrong with people that look like this practicing yoga. I'm not saying to keep them off the mat. I'm just saying, where is my space on it? Right. So as I realized, like, I don't see the resources, I said, well, just then once I'm educated about what it is, I'm going to provide the resources. I'm a teacher, so I'm a school teacher by education, right? I have a master's degree in the art of teaching middle school to high school math, special ed. That is what I do, or that's what I did, I should say, at the time. And so I was teaching high school, and my children were so smart and so capable, but they were afraid, like had crazy testing anxiety. And so like I was just trying to do it for the kind of peace of mind that I could provide for them. And then I found also so much peace here. I found so much growth in the space in my body, and it felt good to practice, and it felt good to be consistent, to go to class. And I love teaching. And I literally started this with a path of teaching in mind, which a lot of people don't. Like that's a very rare occurrence, honestly.
Yeah.
But it took over. And then, things happen where I start talking about life and talking about yoga and having the conversations. And it was a side hustle up until the pandemic. I was teaching yoga, a couple classes a week in the gym. And then I showed what I showed online, right? I would put videos of me teaching and things like that, or showing poses. And then I got in like a couple of yoga challenges and started working with brands. And then when the pandemic hit, I started teaching online. And that has changed a lot. I've met a lot of people, including yourself. And I just got more involved in this wellness space, all the way to the point where now I'm teaching yoga retreats internationally with amazing women that are just super talented and smart and just have not also felt represented in this space. And I am not stopping. Here we are starting this podcast.
Here we are. No, and I love it.
My yoga journey in a nutshell.
And I love the fact that you named your yoga thick thigh yoga, because it's us. It's us.
Yes, absolutely. I legit, I was just like, I don't feel the representation. I don't see it. So I need to be clear about what I'm representing here and presenting to y'all.
Yeah.
Like it needs to be clear who I am here to represent. And that's the thing too. I don't necessarily feel like my practice is only for Black women, but it is largely for Black women. But like, I have a lot of followers, and I've met a lot of people that are just like, these are white women, but they're plus size, or Asian plus size women, or, you know, just somebody it is genuinely harder for them to also fit into their cultures because of the way we centralize this concept of slimness and traditional picturesque whiteness, or whatever, fresh from the Caucasus Mountains, or I don't know, whatever. Like whatever that's supposed to be, right? So if you're not that, you don't feel like you fit into this crowd. And then so again, finding a space where somebody is saying, look, I have a bigger body. I told you that. You knew that the second you got here. I have a bigger body. Let's now do other things. Let's get that part out of the way. Because that's it. We have now there are so many plus size influencers and yoga teachers and wellness professionals. And like, there's so many pages that like have like tens of thousands of followers or hundreds of thousands of followers, or, you know, it's like, and I appreciate that these pages have grown. A lot of them I literally met through this process, because we're not like, there's not a whole lot of us, but there's so many more than there were, because there were none. Yeah. I felt like there were none when I got started here. There was like Louise Green and oh no, why am I blanking on her name? Underbelly Yoga. Jessamine Stanley. Okay. And like, it was like them. These are the two people that we've allowed to be oversized 6. Now what? And then like, but now there's just been a lot more representation, and I appreciate it and I love it. And I'm glad to be a part of it. I think all of these people need to exist, because we've existed in these bodies at least my whole life. Yeah. And I'm built like my grandmother. So I'm sure in her lifetime, it did not exist, or especially her youth, her younger, it didn't exist. The representation wasn't there because it wasn't there when I was 12. Yeah. So. No, I hear you. So, Danielle, I would love to know your story.
So I'm completely opposite of you. I'm the girl who hated yoga. Like it was like, I hate yoga. Everything about yoga is trash. The clothes are trash. The people are trash. The studios are trash. Like, I'm like, I understand why people do this, but I'm from San Francisco, and I feel like it's like Kevin Bacon. Everyone knows someone 1 degree separation of doing yoga. Everyone does yoga. It's like, oh, you're not going to the Bikram class or Pilates or, you know, bar. I mean, everyone's doing something. And so, of course, I had friends who were yoga teachers or loved yoga. They're like, come with me. I got this Groupon. It's going to be amazing. And I go and I'm like, this is trash. Like, I would hurt myself. I think because back then, especially, I was such a type A person. I was like, oh, I see Becky with her head all the way, you know, between her legs, and it's wrapped around her neck. I could totally do this. Like, I was flexible at one point, at least sexually I am. So I was like, I could totally do this. And then like all of a sudden I've hurt myself and now I'm out for a week or longer. And it would happen every single time. What I felt like when I was in class, I felt like I didn't like the clothes. I felt that I didn't feel welcomed. I would look around and I'm the only person of color. Maybe there's an Asian girl, but 9 out of 10, I'm the only person of color. Everyone knows what they're doing. They call out what sounds like a foreign language to me. They might as well have been speaking Chinese or something else. It's like, what's this, downward dog
Right.
or these other things? And I didn't know what they were talking about. And, Utkanasana, I was like, what, huh? Do ujjayi breathing. I'm like, what kind of breathing? Like, I just didn't understand it. And so I gave it up. I was like, this is not for me. This is not for me. I am not a yoga person. That ain't my goal. That ain't my story. Flash forward many, many years, I'm in Bali. I had, a situation where I had 6 people die on me and I went to Bali to heal. And so I worked with a Balinese healer and he didn't speak much English. And so all I knew was it included yoga and meditation. So I used my hands. I'm like, this much yoga, that much meditation. Well, he did this much yoga and that much meditation. And after working with them, was like, why do I mentally feel better? Like, what just happened? And I'm like, oh, I don't know. I don't know what happened. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna try this again. I'm gonna go this other spot that's like literally Burning Man for people who like yoga in Ubud. It's called Yoga Barn, one of my favorite places to go. Like whenever I'm in Bali, I must go to Yoga Barn. It is everything. But normally I go there for meditations or the static dances or just the food or just the vibe. So I go to take a class. I'm like, I'm gonna take this heart opening class. I'm gonna open my heart. I'm gonna deal with all the grief and it's gonna be amazing. They're like, oh, sorry, miss. Like the class is not like the schedule online is wrong. Total American. I'm like, well, that's ridiculous. So they signed
It's ridiculous.
yeah, I was kind of pissed. I'm trying to say Zen. Y'all are messing the Zen vibe. And then they said that, oh, we have this Kundalini yoga class. And like, if you could take that's what's next. I'm like, okay, I'll take it. And so I take this class and I'm just doing the moves, doing a basic neck roll. And it was like someone pushed the mute button on a remote control. I had this wave of emotion. I'm just ugly crying. I don't know if you've ever cried in a yoga class. I am like snot coming out, eyes can't see, ugly crying in a class and can't control it. But once I kind of come out a little bit, I'm like, wait, I'm not the only one crying. Why are other people crying? What just happened? And so I take another class and I cry again. And other people are crying, but people were crying at different times. And so it was through this experience of releasing emotions in a way that I'm like, I had never experienced before that had me dive deeper into Kundalini yoga. And then what's interesting is as welcomed and loved as I felt in Bali, came back to the States on a class. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna do this Kundalini yoga thing. It's gonna be everything. It's gonna continue changing my life as it did in Bali. And I enter the room, it's all women and all white. I'm in this pink outfit because I like color. They look at me, I'm the only person of color. And it was like, I don't know if you remember that movie, I think 48 Hours, when Eddie Murphy goes into the bar and it's like a cowboy bar and everyone like looks at him like, what are you doing here? That's what it felt like. Like, what are you doing here? And it felt so uncomfortable and it felt like I wasn't welcome. They're like, well, why are you here? Are you sure you're supposed to be in this class? I'm like, yeah, it says Kundalini, right?
Are you sure you're supposed to be
I
in
was
this
like,
class?
dang, y'all ain't even subtle about it. Okay. Are you sure? Hip hop is down that way. That's what it felt like. I was like, yo, okay. I'm like, well,
you're an hour and a half late for salsa. Do you
yeah,
know? That's
exactly. I was like, dang, this feels really not uncomfortable. And they had their head wrapped, which is a thing in Kundalini, and I get it now, but it just felt so unwelcoming. And had I not found other people that look like me doing this practice, had I not found my, yoga mentor, I don't think I would have continued. And I think that's a huge reason why I wanted us to do this podcast and create this podcast, because had I let the people in when I first started doing yoga and everyone's doing everything and not explaining everything or making me feel welcomed when I first started, I would have never come back. I would have never come back if I hadn't felt what I felt in Bali with the Balinese healer. Had I let these women be my only representation of Kundalini yoga in America, I would have never gone back to a practice that has been so instrumental in my life. And that's for me why I want people to not miss out because of the other people who have a tendency to block people who look like you and me. So what's your kind of story? Why did you want to do this podcast?
So I really have been considering the concept of building community a lot in my business mainly, but as a part of the wellness practice that I teach. I've realized that, just like I said, the level of representation wasn't there. Now I'm seeing that, again, since the representation is continuing to build, there's still not necessarily a sense of a community a lot of the time. Now, there are local communities. There are areas, there are people that I've met that I know now that I'm friends with now that have, and like yourself included, you have hosted 35 women retreat, person retreat. Like, you've got a whole heap of people, you've done these things where you've gathered groups and there's really people that are really dedicated to a certain teacher. And like, I'll even say like that's a space that I got to build in Jamaica, Queens, where there were Black people that were ready to come to my class every weekend. They were there religiously. And it was a space where I grew up getting bullied. So to be able to have that space, right? Like, but once we shifted to this online space, the thought of being trapped in your house by yourself also traps you in your thoughts by yourself. And if you're going to be down on yourself, that's the opportunity for that stuff to grow.
Yeah.
And so this is a space that we really entered, and this is the mental health crisis that our country is still in like right now. Like we entered into it a long time ago, but it became amplified by the pandemic. And now we're in a space where people are really like, no, we're not okay. And so I want to build a sense of community in an online space. And that also, again, this stuff that's happening in my business right now, and like for my website and for the Theta yoga community, especially like going on these retreats now, right? Having groups of girls. I just met up with the girls from Costa Rica last weekend on Zoom. Yeah, like we were just like, hey, you guys want to meet? Let's chat. And then like, it was just so nice to just see everybody's face. And like, not everybody could make it, unfortunately, but like, that's real life. But it was a space where we felt all very welcome and very excited to see each other. And that's the exact opposite of the situation that you just described in your yoga class that you were excited for coming back, right? I want to be able to create more of that space. I would love for somebody to start their yoga journey and have two happy Black faces looking back at them like, all right, listen, y'all, this is what we're doing. And this is how we do it. And this is how we make sense of this. If I felt more of that representation when I started, maybe I would have, built my practice a little different. Now, at the same time, maybe I wouldn't be right here. So I have to respect the way the world works and the universe and me, everything falling the way it's supposed to. But I want to be able to create that space here. And when you asked me about it, I was like, yes, that makes sense. I would love to connect with you. We have plans to have so many guests on and have such like complex and interesting and deep conversation. I'm excited for all this to happen.
No, I am too. And I really feel like there's more of us out there. Like, I don't know how it feels for you. So we both practice different types of yoga that are completely different. And I respect the different types. And I think most people don't even know what Kundalini yoga is whatsoever. Even some people in the yoga community, they're like, oh, that's the one where people wear white. I'm not into that. And they don't even know what we do. And so I find that that's really interesting. But I want people to know, that there's different types of yoga, but also that we're here. Like when I first became a Kundalini yoga teacher, I was excited. And I'm like, I got on the directory and I wanted to find other people who looked like me so I can take their classes. Do you know how many pages? You know, when you have like, you're like going through and it says 1, 2, 3. I went through over 20 pages, found 1 or 2 people max.
Wow.
It's taken me a really long time, and we're out here, but it's taken me a long time to find us. And so I think it's important for have this space to have people who are already in yoga to know that, hey, we're here. We're creating this community that you want. Those who aren't doing yoga, hey, let us help you come up with how to, build your practice and how to avoid some of the bumps that we've experienced. And basically for me, I want this to be a roadmap for those who are people of color that want to get into yoga, but also to show them what are the amazing benefits of having a yoga practice. And to go with that one, what do you feel are the benefits for you of doing a yoga practice or having a yoga practice?
Being in tune with my body has changed my life. Knowing what my body should feel like when I'm in the right space, when I've moved enough, when I'm eating the right amount of food, when I have filled my mind with the right things in the day, that connection, that mind, bodies, and even mind, body, spirit connection, huge change in my life. I feel like the understanding of why, when I feel this way, if I know why I feel that way, I can fix it. And one of the things that I teach in my classes, I always say that physically, to me, the purpose of yoga is creating tension on purpose and releasing it on purpose.
Yeah.
And to have that kind of control, imagine the next time somebody makes you angry and you clench your teeth up and you say, my teeth are not supposed to be clenched like this. This doesn't feel good. I'm going to release it. I'm going to let my shoulders drop. This person thinks they're going to get me all riled up. They're not. That peace,
Everything.
That's what gets me there.
Everything. I am right there with you. I am right there with you. So I know, and we have some amazing guests, and we're going to have some topics. Do you want to give people a little bit of a teaser about kind of where we're going with this? It's not just like, oh, here, join yoga and boom. Like, what else are we doing?
So we have so many awesome titles and awesome episodes land out for you, right? So we're immediately going to delve into what it's like to start your own practice, right? So if you're confused, what do I do? How do I start it? What are some options? That's going to come up very soon. And then we really want to break some stereotypes, the things that the myths and the lies and all the foolishness that we've heard about yoga. We want to break those down and, really show people what the connections are and what they really aren't, the things that aren't true at all, why somebody might feel this way, but the things that we really don't need to be concerned about. Then we're also going to bring in guests that are representing the male perspective of yoga, the navigating the white spaces of yoga, cultural appropriation, weed and yoga, right? Like there are a lot of really interesting topics that I'm so excited to have these conversations and connect each other, right? Like the people that we know, connecting each other to more wellness practitioners that look like us for the most part, right? Yeah. Because we still need to be diverse here and we want to be diverse here. We want to make that connection of like, yeah, so sometimes there's athletes and yoga, right? And you have a team of people, they're probably all not going to be the same color either, right? So yeah. We have to be able to be and navigate these spaces and have these kind of conversations. Do you know what episode you're excited for the most?
Oh, that's a good question. I think for me, it might be the episode on breaking myths or looking at yoga and spirituality. I don't know. The weed one is interesting too, because I've done weed yoga, and of course, because it's legal here in California, and I'm just like, oh, everyone's just like, oh, you're supposed to bring your own. I thought you were supplying.
No, you don't.
Yeah. Oh,
no extras.
I will give the hint on that one. The beautiful thing about that, I was welcomed as a Black person. Oh, you didn't bring yours? Here you go. I mean, that's very, California is very giving in their weed. So yes.
Absolutely. Because of the abundance and the closeness. Yeah, I know. I taught a couple classes in New York because it's legalized in New York too.
Yeah. I think it's going to be amazing. So for you, if you had one hope, well, you probably have more, but one wish, one hope of what you want people to get out of this podcast, what would you say that would be?
I hope that people get a sense of comfort with yoga from this podcast. Whatever that is, whether they never even make it to the mat, but they get to listen to all these things and become more informed and intelligent on the subject and can feel like this is a good resource to share. I think that is the least that I want to hope for. I want to create that sense of comfort with this information. What about you?
For me, I want people to realize that we're here. And it's not just Black people. I want other people to realize Black people are in this wellness space. We're here. We're here. And we're really not going anywhere. We're here. Period.
Yes. That's it. We are here. That's a good one. Because that is the connection, right? We feel like we don't exist in the space. So that's why it's hard for us to join it.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that.
Well, I hope people come back to listen to other episodes on Black in the Mat, because they're going to be everything. We're excited, and we hope that you are too. Until then, we'll see you guys next time. Ciao.
Yes. Bye.
Thank you for joining us today on Black on the Mat.
Let's continue connecting, sharing our stories, and sowing the benefits of having a yoga practice in your life.
Subscribe to Black on the Mat on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube.
I'm Saisha, and you can find me at Thick Thigh Yoga on all social media platforms and thickthighyoga.com.
I'm Danielle, and you can find me at Hello Well with Danielle on IG, YouTube, and hellowellwithdanielle.com.